Right. Dispensationalism is an effort to create a timeline that helps reconcile the tension that is necessarily present when one affirms that Israel and the church are separate entities.
Right.
In other words, it's difficult to read the Bible consistently and holistically, having the church and Israel being completely separate. It creates all sorts of problems. And so one solution, it was thought, was to lay out history in a way that assigned, okay, we're thinking about Israel, then you're thinking about these parts of the timeline. You're thinking about the church, you're thinking about this part of the timeline. That way there's no conflict, because we're not putting them together in the same places on the timeline. That's how I understand the basic impulse of the dispensational worldview, is to try to resolve that conflict that comes with this affirmation that Israel and the church are separate entities. Today, there's a different way of resolving that's been set forth, and it's bilateral ecclesiology. That
right.
It's one people, but they have two different sets of legal obligation, two different sets of obligation, two different laws, basically, before God. And so there's kind of a wall between these two people, but they're in the same house. And the people in one part of the house are obligated with A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The people in the other are somehow need to be recipients of this other group's teaching and have only ABC as part of their obligations before the Lord. So
right.
it tries to resolve the same thing, but it takes the timeline out of it and just says, no, they coexist as separate, but they have completely different obligations. They share some obligations, but they're one in Messiah, but they're very different. So I see bilateral ecclesiology and dispensationalism, I think they can be described as strategies to resolve the conflict that affirms the church and Israel are separate.
Two sides of the same coin. I completely agree with you on that. And ultimately, we can't, I don't think we can underscore or understress the impact that the Torah and trying to explain away the Torah and the obligations therein have made on theology for the church. And honestly, I've been studying, I've been doing a lot of different studies, but one of the studies I've been doing is on the church's view of the Sabbath. It's really interesting, how the church has kind of gotten around the Sabbath, which is, yes, we believe in the 10 Commandments, and we believe that the 10 Commandments were the first law given to the people of Israel, passed on to the church, except for, so there's this one commandment in there that is not.
Yeah, even there we have different strategies. Like I grew up in a conservative Lutheran where we studied Luther's catechism, like in 7th and 8th grade every Saturday.
Right.
We were studying the Bible on Shabbat, and I didn't even know it. But through this confirmation, and in Luther's catechism, you learn that the Sabbath is any time God's word is studied. It's not even a day anymore. So Sunday, Luther said Sunday is not the Sabbath. So that was him differentiating from the church, or from the Roman authority. Whereas the Romans were saying, no, we changed it. And then now you have groups say, oh, it's just any one day in 7, as long as it's one day in 7. So you have, in the same way, there's like different strategies for trying to reconcile how this commandment applies in my world as a New Testament believer.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell us your thoughts on this subject by leaving a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.